Α, το άνοιξες. Ναι, αλλά δεν μου βγάζει τίποτα. Αχ, ναι, βγάζει. Delay έχει στον ήχο πάντως. Στο chat. Το γύρισε στο προηγούμενο, ναι. Την ποιότητα ακόμα μου τη βγάζει πάντως για το 2K. Ναι, ναι. Το 12 δευτερόλεπτο delay έχει το ήχο. Γενικά, στο τέτοιο. Το μέτρησε. Τι αγελάδο άλογο είναι αυτό, ρε. Αγελάδι είναι. Στο αυτό συνήθως δεν μιλάμε. Μιλάμε όταν θέλουν μόνο. Το άλογο πώς το παίρνεις, τι πρέπει να κάνει. Οκ.
Yes, right this way. Right this way. Welcome, valued customer. Come, trade in our wandering emporium. Please, buy something. I'm hungry. I've been hungry so long. Please?
Θα βοηθούσε η αλήθεια να έχει πολλά builds και τέτοια. You need to know. Tips and tricks.
Elden Ring. It's received praise beyond measure from critics and players alike, and it's the game everyone was, is, and will be talking about for years to come. Tips and tricks we're about to break down are designed for new, casual, and intermediate players of the genre. If you've watched this series on the channel before, you know we always try and bring something to the table for everyone. But I feel like with a Souls game, a bit of a disclaimer is necessary.
Ωραία. Α, ναι, τώρα βγήκε κάτι.
To avoid being roasted in the comments.
Φαίνεται.
Let's start off with something as simple as sprinting. It exists, and you should use it. During launch, we watched a number of streamers just completely disregard this ability, even though a tooltip lets players know it's a thing within the first 10 minutes of the game. That being said, sprinting is an essential aspect of movement in the game. All you need to do is hold down your dodge button. That opens up exploration even more, and considering how monumental jumping is in this title, also knowing how to sprint becomes even more important. Another easy to miss tip has to do with your most prized possession, your flasks. This is quite literally your lifeblood within the game, and the item that will propel you forward as you learn to tackle the challenges of the lands between. You already know that your flask fills up when resting at a site of lost grace, but did you know that both of your flasks restore 3 charges after clearing out a group of enemies in an encounter area? This is a change in line with the open world nature of the game, and it's important to keep in mind as it can influence your entire approach to Elden Ring. Because resting at a site of lost grace resets the world, it might be better to take on that added risk of clearing out an enemy encampment, because you know on the other side your flask will fill up, and the enemies that you killed will still stay dead.
Γενικά με τα build έχει πολύ πράγμα ρε.
FromSoft loves their secrets, and they love putting those secrets just out of reach. That's what we're talking about here with the teardrop scarabs. These buggers are elusive creatures that you'll find all over the world. They'll come in different varieties, and their only goal is to make sure you don't catch them. When you see a scarab, you need to act quickly and try and kill it before it disappears. Killing a red scarab will restore 3 charges to your flask of Crimson Tears. Killing a blue scarab will restore 3 charges to your flask of Cerulean Tears. And most important of all, killing a silver scarab will reward you with a new Ash of War, or sometimes even a sorcery. Talk about an impressive prize for little effort. Anytime you see a scarab, you should beeline it and end their life as quick as possible, as they don't stick around for long. Of course, you can reset the world, resting to reset their spawn, so if you missed them the first time around, don't worry, they'll be back. Elden Ring is a loot-driven game, and you'll pick up plenty of baubles and trinkets during your time in the lands between. One quality of life tip we know you're going to love has to do with your equipment slots. Cycling through one click at a time just isn't efficient, and as your bags become more full with gear, things can get lost in the shuffle, literally. A better solution is to prime the items you know you're going to need and put them in the first slot. That's because when you hold down the corresponding button, the item in the first slot will quickly cycle to the first position. This is a great way to access things like key spells and flasks when under pressure, and a tip that will no doubt save your life in a pinch. Simple yet oh so important. We're talking about ladders, the bane of any Souls player's existence. You go up them, you go down them, but are you doing it the right way? In all seriousness, there's a few things you need to know to really be efficient when climbing. First, if you hold down the dodge key while moving up the ladder, you'll climb faster. In the same vein, holding the dodge button while moving down the ladder allows you to slide down it quickly. If you want to dismount from the ladder, simply double tap your dodge button. If you want to attack on the ladder, you can do that too. R1 will attack above and R2 will attack below. Finally, it's worth pointing out that you can use your flask while mounted on a ladder. When you start Elden Ring, the map will be pretty much barren, and we get it. You don't want a guide to walk you through how to find each piece, or you'd be watching that video. We're just going to help nudge you in the right direction. If you're looking to fill the entire map, simply start by exploring the world. Eventually, through the fog of war, you'll notice a glowing map stone icon. Simply head there and pick up the fragment, but be warned, the amount of enemies lurking nearby is substantial, and we all know how much FromSoft likes a good old ambush, so bring a big stick and get ready to fight for the fragment. Who are we kidding? Sometimes digging around your inventory, wading through walls of text can suck the fun right out of a great game. On the flip side, not enough information can be equally annoying. Elden Ring gives you what you need at a glance, but you can actually dive deeper into the menus if you so choose. Switch Display Mid is invaluable for seeing intricate details about key items, sorceries, weapons, and more. It even tells you what items will be unlocked when you give it to a specific vendor. In a similar vein, the Help button can be used on your stats screen to tell you exactly what each one of your stats does and why you'd want to invest in each of them. It's more information than we've ever received in a Souls game, and honestly, it makes building out a character that much more enjoyable. Sometimes combat comes fast and furious, and you don't want to stop and check every body along the way for your next piece of loot. That'll most likely end with you being dead. Luckily, FromSoft thought of this, and there's a subtle animation that actually alerts players when loot is about to drop. When killing enemies, look for a burst of white that explodes out from their body. This is a sign that, hey, something good is about to drop, so don't run off. It's an unobtrusive way to let players know what's going on while still not getting in the way of the action. Now, we couldn't do a tips and tricks video without talking about combat, and when it comes to mastering the mechanics of the game, you know I had to ask Livid his best advice. As someone that's been playing Souls games for over a decade, he's been guiding me in my journey through the series, and it's kind of culminating with Elden Ring. That being said, he wanted me to share some of his best tips for taking on the combat within the game. If you don't meet a specific stat requirement for a weapon, try two-handing it. This may boost your stats enough to use that weapon in that manner. For those that don't know, whatever button you use to cycle your D-pad menu needs to be pressed in
Yritetään
conjunction with your
backstabata
light
tuo
attack of your
jäbylä.
respective weapon, either main hand or offhand. This will put your other weapon away and let you two-hand it. If you are brand new to the genre or just starting out with Elden Ring, you may not know that most weapons have special abilities or can be assigned them via the Ashes of War system. When dual-wielding different weapons, you can't use these abilities by default. You need to two-hand your weapon to allow your heavy attack button for your offhand weapon to enable these. You can bypass this system by obtaining the No Skill Ash of War and slapping it on your offhand weapon or shield. This will allow you to use your main hand's ability or Ash of War while dual-wielding, which is especially useful to mages and shield users alike. You can buy this from Warwick, a merchant in the shack to the east of Stormvale Castle. Fighting an armored enemy? Try switching to a blunt-style weapon and watch as your attacks won't bounce off them anymore and will deal substantially more damage. Of course, you should always be 100% investing in multiple types of weapons in these games. Alright, so how about shielded enemies? If you D-pad over to unequip your weapon, you'll enter an unarmed state, which will allow you to kick staggering shielded enemies. If you swap quickly back to your main hand weapon, you can chain that to a frontal stab, dealing high damage and often knocking them down. In the same vein, if you weren't aware, you can utilize sneaking and backstabs a huge percentage of the time to make encounters much easier for yourself. If you don't know how to backstab, simply sneak up to an enemy and when directly behind them, hold your light attack button. A quick note about dodging, you can also jump. It's a new mechanic and you should use it to avoid low sweeping attacks. You can also tap your dodge key to do a quick backstep instead of a full dodge roll. Additionally, if you tap this button and then quickly press your thumbstick in a different direction, you can sidestep as well. Crafting's new. It's exciting, but it's not entirely clear. Just so we're all on the same page here, cracked pots are not consumed when used during crafting. Think of these like flasks. They can hold one thing at a time, but once you throw the item, the charge is consumed, but the cracked pot remains. This means the more cracked pots you find, the more throwable items you have access to at any one time. Not only is Torrent great for getting around, but he's also immune to hazardous effects. Convenient if you need to get through a zone that would otherwise poison or rot you. Just summon your trusty steed and he'll carry you through the dangers without so much as a scratch. Additionally, for all our new Souls players out there, if you're ever in a scenario where you have to walk through one of these zones, never roll. By rolling, you actually coat more of your body with the hazard, which means faster buildup and quicker dead you. We've known since like the second trailer that Torrent has the ability to jump into the air at a remarkable height, but I bet a bunch of you didn't know that those spirit springs found throughout the world also work the other way around. If you're ever in a scenario where you need to jump down but don't want to die in the process, look for those very same spirit springs. Think of them like targets and try and land as close to them as possible because they'll completely negate your fall damage. The AoE is actually pretty forgiving, so as long as you're in the ballpark, you're good. This gives you a bit more flexibility when running around the world, and it's a great piece of knowledge to squirrel away in the back of your brain because you never know when that info may come in handy. Speaking of jumping off high places, let's talk about those tombstone platforms you see all over the side of cliffs. They're actually there for good reason. These are specifically placed elements in the world that help you descend from certain locations. Don't attempt to navigate these on foot. They're really designed for mounted traversal, as the gaps can be a bit unpredictable and Torrent's double jump is really necessary to use these effectively. If you want even more control over the process, you can use the telescope item. This will allow you to rotate Torrent, lining up a perfect jump. Is it a bit extra? Absolutely, but it's better than dying. Also, fun fact, if you zoom in close to your map, you can see these rendered out in tiny detail, taking most of the guesswork away and giving you a surefire way to identify these helpful outcroppings. Final tip about jumping and falling, I promise. This is one that most veteran Souls players will know, but if you ever want to test if a fall will kill you, toss a rainbow stone off the ledge. If it shatters upon impact, then the fall will definitely kill you. If the stone hits the ground and doesn't shatter, well then friends, happy trails because the fall definitely won't kill you. We hope. Just when you thought we were done talking about Torrent, bam, we hit you with a load of mounted combat tips. Look, we get it, people want to fight on horseback, but is it the most engaging and fulfilling way to play a Souls game? I'll let you decide. That being said, there's still some important things you need to know. First, holding your strong attack button while riding will extend your weapon out alongside you, actively hurting any enemies you touch during that time. This can be super useful if you want to chain stun a particular enemy or deal with a large group as you pass by them. You can also attack on both the left and right side of your horse while mounted with your currently equipped weapons by using the respective inputs for both the heavy and light attacks on both your left and right hand weapons. Another bonus tip, say you don't want to use your right-handed weapon while mounted. Well, how the hell do you use your left-handed weapon? Simply use your command to two-hand your weapon to switch to your offhand weapon. This is especially useful if you want to swap from melee combat to either ranged or magic-based combat, all with the click of a button. Alright, we're done with the mount, I swear. We're changing gears here and talking about the enemies themselves. Did you know that certain enemies in the world, if you're lucky enough, will have glowing eyes? These should never be overlooked, as killing one of these illuminated foes will reward you with 4 times the runes. You heard me right. Just keep in mind that these enemies are random and reset when you rest at a site of lost grace or die, so you really have to keep your eyes open if you want to spot them. See what I did there? While exploring the world, you'll also occasionally run across these slightly glowing skulls, just chilling in all manner of places. These are actually destructible and will reward you with an item that, when used, awards 200 runes. It's not a crazy amount, but hey, if it takes all of 2 seconds to destroy and you bank up a bunch of these, especially if you run over them with Torrent, you might make yourself a tidy profit. These skulls are all over the world, so again, keep your head on a swivel. If you're a veteran Souls player, then you might already know this, but for those of you coming into the genre fresh, did you know you can hit the fire pillar traps in dungeons with a ranged or melee attack and make them retract back into the ground? You can also make them rise back up by doing the same thing, which can be useful if you need a lift to a place enemies can't reach you, or if you want to use those traps to kill enemies that you aggroed into the room. If you've watched any of our boss guide videos, you might have picked up on this next tip. Certain talismans, specifically the defensive ones, can be upgraded. It's not a matter of going to a blacksmith, but rather finding a duplicate copy of the talisman in the world. Every time you get the same talisman, it amplifies its effect, and this is important because some of the most challenging fights in the game almost demand that you think about your defenses, not just from a combat sense, but from a gearing sense as well. Don't worry, this won't mess up your fashion souls, but it will save your life. Finally, let's talk about stone sword keys. You might already know what these are, but in case you're new around here, let's just lay it all out there. Stone sword keys can be found all over the lands between, and they're your ticket to unlocking stone sword fog walls. Behind these are some of the best and most valuable items in the game, but be warned, this is not simply open the wall, claim a prize. No, in typical FromSoft fashion, unlocking the wall is just the first step to claiming your reward. The best advice we have is save these until you're absolutely certain you're ready to peek behind the veil. I'd even recommend looking up a guide or checking out a wiki to see what reward is behind what wall, as you could end up wasting your keys and getting some lukewarm reward as a result. There's some great stuff on the table, so treat these keys with some reverence. And there you have it, everything we wish we knew sooner about FromSoft's open world Souls game, Elden Ring.
Dat ik smaak helemaal sprawelde.
Elden Ring is the latest game from FromSoft.
Best wel, ik heb al een tijdje toch op echt Elden
If it's
Ring.
too difficult for you, you can always leave and come back later when you have
Oh,
better
ruf, dan word
weapons,
ik ook wel verder.
ashes, or are a higher level. There are definitely ways to negate challenge in this game, but I know it's easy to get lost and end up somewhere overwhelming thanks to the sheer scope. So without further ado, let's get into it. Your starting class is totally up to you. This is something you can very easily change and customize as you progress through the game, so don't stress out about it too much. Choose something that sounds fun. For more on it, make sure to check out our starting class guide by Billy Givens. As far as your starting gift is concerned, I'd highly recommend choosing the Golden Seed. Golden Seeds allow you to upgrade your Flasks of Tears, your main healing item in the game, so you have more uses out of it before you have to return to and rest at a site of grace. If you're new to the game, first things first. Make sure you don't miss the tutorial area, the Cave of Knowledge, as it can actually be surprisingly easy to miss. If you're an experienced player, feel free to skip it, although it does teach some of the new mechanics such as guard countering. Once you've opened the door outside of the Stranded Graveyard and into Limgrave, the world truly is your oyster. But don't be overwhelmed. Your first goal is to activate 3 Sites of Grace, as this will bring Melina to you, who will not only give you the ability to access Torrent, the Spectral Steed, but also the ability to level up. To easily access Torrent, I'd advise signing the Spectral Steed Whistle to your quick item menu, which you can access in the equipment section. That way you can just hit the action key and the corresponding directional button to quickly call him to you. This means you won't have to spend time scrolling through your item menu, so you can quickly escape from situations that get a bit sticky. You'll also want to find your first map fragment so you can more easily explore and find things in the massive overworld. Your first site of grace is easy enough, right in front of you at the first step. Next, you'll want to head directly north and avoid the tree set in Table and Kali the Merchant. If you need a hand finding these three, just follow the golden path. Kali the Merchant sells a number of useful items. The crafting kit will allow you to use all of the crafting materials you've gathered throughout the game and craft whatever you choose. I highly recommend buying a torch here, it's only 200 runes, and you'll definitely want one for the dungeons ahead. He also sells a note about the Flask of Wondrous Physic. This is another healing flask you can find, which can be incredibly useful. This note clues you in on the location. Just northeast through the forest is your next destination. This leads you to the Gatefront Ruins and your first map fragment. If you need help tracking down these map fragments, open your map and look for these icons. That's where you'll find them. Make sure to fully explore these runes, as there's a secret basement that contains a whetstone, which is what allows you to equip Ashes of War under your weapons, which are very useful skills you'll find throughout the game. On top of that, on the north side, you'll find a chest with the Lord Sworn's Greatsword. While you might not have the stats to be able to wield it yet, this is a great starting weapon for any type of strength build. And if you're new to these games, I recommend trying it out and leveling up your strength stats to wield it when you can. The weapon's a little slower, but it's powerful enough to allow you to briefly stagger many enemies you otherwise couldn't just by hitting them with a two-handed attack, or even sometimes a one-handed attack. Not only that, but to the northwest and southeast of Gatefront Ruins, you'll find Sites of Grace. Rest at one of these, and both Torrent and the ability to level up is yours. Once you've done all of this, I want you to hop on Torrent and run through the Stormgate to the west of the Gatefront Site of Grace, and follow the path up to the Stormhill Shack. Along the way, you'll find another Golden Seed, which you'll definitely want, as it will allow you yet another upgrade to your Flasks of Tears. Not only that, but at the Stormhill Shack, you'll find an NPC who will gift you Spirit Jellyfish Ashes. In my opinion, this is an incredibly useful Spirit Ash, as you can use it to help distract bosses and take their aggro away from you. However, you can't use Spirit Ashes yet, but now that you have Torrent, you can now find the Spirit Calling Bell, which allows you to do this. First thing you need to do is rest at your Site of Grace and pass time until night, as the NPC who gives you this only appears at night. Next, warp back to the Church of Ella, and you'll now find the witch Renna. Talk to her, and she'll gift you the Spirit Calling Bell, as well as Lone Wolf Ashes. Now you have an extra tool to aid you in combat. Here, there are two dungeons I'd recommend checking out. These are Stormfoot Catacombs and the Groveside Cave. They're low-level dungeons which are well-suited for beginners, and completing these will give you a way to earn runes and level up your character. Both of these locations are along the cliffside northwest of the Church of Ella. Completing those, your next location is the Waypoint Ruins Cellar. This is going to be southeast of the Gatefront Ruins and the Agheel Lake North Site of Grace. Cross the bridge and find the Waypoint Ruins. Within these ruins, you'll find the Mad Pumpkinhead boss fight. After defeating him, you'll find both the Site of Grace and a secret location with Sorceress Sellen. Sellen is going to be your way to buy new sorceries, so this is definitely a must-visit location if you're doing a sorcery-style build. Next, we travel to the location. Completing these will go from the Church of Ella, which allows Spirit Ashes yet. In my opinion, you can now find the Spirit.
Εγώ, ναι. Τώρα το ξανάβαλες. Ναι, τώρα βλέπω. Και το delay έχει στρώσει λίγο, δεν είναι τόσο μεγάλο. Δεν ξέρω άμα πήραξες τίποτα. Α, ναι, εδώ έδειχνε. Α, μπράβο. Κάτσε, και τι έδωσε τώρα αυτό, είπαμε. Α, το sword. Πάρ' το, βάλ' το. το δοκιμάσεις. Ναι, δεν είναι σωστή έκδοση. Πόσο θέλει... Α, ναι, ναι, ναι. Θες. Όλικο. Ναι, εντάξει, δεν πειράζει. Καλό loot. Τώρα ψήθηκα να παίξω Elden Ring. Αλλά έχω και το Demon Souls. Πρέπει να τερματίσω. Ρε, έχει άπειρο content. Θέλω να κάθεσαι μια μέρα και να τα δεις.
Spirit calling bell, which allows you to do this. First thing you need to do is rest at your site of grace and pass time until night, as the NPC who gives you this only appears at night. Next, warp back to the Church of Ella, and you'll now find the witch Rena. Talk to her, and she'll gift you the spirit until night, as the NPC ashes yet. But now that you have Torrent, you can now find the spirit calling bell, which allows you to do this. First thing you need to do is rest at your seed, which you'll definitely want, as it will allow you yet another upgrade to your flasks of tears. Not only that, but at the Stormhill Shack, you'll find an NPC who will gift you spirit jelly.
Take this little one along with you? The poor thing deserves someone braver than myself. And the spirits look more fondly upon you. It will be glad of your company.
Αλλά έχει και το βίντεο μαζί.
Fish ashes. In my opinion, this is an incredibly useful Spirit Ash, as you can use it to help distract bosses and take their aggro away from you. However, you can't use Spirit Ashes yet. But now that you have Torrent, you can now find the Spirit Calling Bell, which allows you to do this. First thing you need to do is rest at your site of grace and pass time until night, as the NPC who gives you this only appears at night. Next, warp back to the Church of Ella, and you'll
Έφυγες. Ντάλτον, σταμάτα να βάζεις πράγματα στο κολλή σου.
This way, Tarnished. May I have a word? A pleasure to meet thee,
Όπεδο
Tarnished.
είσαι.
I am the witch Rhea. I'd heard tell of a Tarnished hurtling about atop a spectral
Φαίνεται και το
steed,
Golden Tree από εδώ.
and upon looking into the
Ή,
matter,
όχι, δεν είναι αυτό.
the talk I surmise is of thee. Thou art possessed of the power, no? To call forth the spectral steed named Torrent. As I had hoped, I was entrusted this for thee by Torrent's former master. 'Tis a bell for calling
Τι κάνει
forth
αυτό?
spirits. Summon them with it. From ash and return to the
Lone
Erdtree.
Wolf
The
Ashes.
spirits will obey thine command but briefly, as they recall battles past. Now it is thine, to do with as thou wishest. Forgive mine intrusion, Tarnished. I doubt we shall again meet. But all the same, how long will it be before the Tarnished
Tarnished. Τι είναι, α,
now find the witch Rena. Talk to her and she'll gift you the spirit calling bell as well as Lone Wolf Ashes. Now you have an extra tool to aid you in combat. From here, there are 2 dungeons I'd
δεν λέει το βιντεάκι. Ναι.
recommend checking out. These are Stormfoot Catacombs and the Groveside Cave. They're low-level
Τρέχομαι.
Ναι, μπακ.
Α, 30 άλλο.
Τι γίνεται?
Χαμούλης.
Εκούστα. Λύκη από σένα ή λύκη από μένα?
Όχι. Α, ναι, βασικά το ακούω. Έπρεπε να ανεβάσω λίγο ένταση. Πρέπει να πας, Μάρη, επίθεση. Από κάτω εκεί ακούγεται. Κάτω εκεί πρέπει να είναι. Όχι ρε.
Μάρια.
Ποια? Α? Λες. Ναι, ναι. Οκ. Το δέντρο γαμάει. Ω, είναι και ένας κάτω, τον είδες? Γύρνα πίσω. Ακριβώς εκεί που τελειώνει αυτό το γεφυρωτό. Όχι, εκεί, εδώ. Δίπλα από το κόκκινο ρε. Αυτό τι είναι το... Α, όχι, είναι θερίδα πρέπει να... Ναι. Μπάλες. Waypoint έχεις να βάλεις, Εκεί στο το Blaine, αυτό είναι. Χαιρετίζω. Α, έχει και bonfire εδώ. Εκείνο που πήρες από το κουτί στην αρχή. Θα πήρες κι άλλο. Οκ. Ναι, ναι. Όχι, είναι, φαίνεται γάμα του. Σατανικό. Κράτα το για τέτοιο, ρε. Για Feng Shui. Οπότε ναι. Δοκίμας το μπάσκετ. Όχι ρε, όχι, άστο. Τι είναι αυτό.
Καλημέρα.
Αυτά τα λουλουδάκια τι σου δίνουν. Χίλια και τέτοιες που... Πρέπει να πας ενώ φεύγει η φωτιά. Δεν ξέρω. Παίζει να προλαβαίνεις. Υπολόγιστο. Αλλά πρέπει να ξεκινήσεις ενώ φεύγει. Να τον άθει, προλαβαίνεις. Καλά πήγες. Και τώρα που πάμε.
Το πρωινό τώρα ήταν...
Να το play. Να το κάνεις ένα τέτοιο για λίγο. Πες μέσα θα σε σκοτώσω το άλλο μου πίσω. Αυτό που βάρεσες. Α, και πρέπει να ανέβεις για να το ξανακάνεις activate. Και επειδή σηκώθηκε πριν και αυτό.
Στις 2 βλέπω.
Μπράβο, βρίσκει. Ωραίο σκυλετή εδώ. Οκ. Καλά πήγε αυτό. Ναι, και δεν φαινόταν πριν εντωμεταξύ. Δεν τους παρατήρησα. Άμα τρέξεις να το πάρεις και φύγεις κατευθείαν, λες να γίνεται. Λεγοπείς και τη φωτιά μου μια φορά ταυτόχρονα να τα κάψει όλα. Φύγε μάγκα, τρέχω! Ρε, έχει μια σκάλα από εκεί, από τα αριστερά, πώς πούμε. Τι γίνεται απ' έξω, μαλάκα, ακούγονται κάτι κουλιαχτά όπως πριν που άκουγες στο Elden Ring εδώ έξω, δεν ξέρω τι γίνεται. Σε εγκλώβηση. Ταρμοπύλες το κάνει, μ' άρεσε. Αυτό το κόκκινο που βγάζει τι είναι, η μπάρα? Τι κανένα damage multiplier, τίποτα τέτοιο. Από αυτό που τρώω, ας πούμε. Α, οκ. Εκείνη η μαλακή όλα την πήρε στην άκρη. Α, πάτε θα το φύγει. Τόσο και με τεχάνει τίποτα. Άμα τους φας, δεν ξέρω. Α, καλησπέρα. Μπάκι θα μπορείς να κάνεις αυτά τα μαλακισμένα. Για να πάρει έστω. Εντάξει, μισό live, καλά είναι. Gremlins. Εντάξει, που έχει και το evade. Ελάτε. Κάτσε αυτό το πράσινο που λαμπύριζε τι ήταν?
Dungeons which are well suited for beginners, and completing these will give you a way to earn runes and level up your character. Both of these locations are along the cliffside northwest of the Church of Ella. Completing those, your next location is the Waypoint Runes Cellar. This is going to be southeast of the Gatefront Runes and the Agheel Lake North site of Grace. Cross the bridge and find the Waypoint Runes. Within these runes, you'll find locations, and completing these will give you a way to earn runes and level up your character. Both of these locations are along the cliffside northwest of the Church of Ella. Completing those, your next location is the Waypoint Runes Cellar. This is going to be southeast of the Gatefront Runes and the Agheel Lake North site of Grace. Cross the bridge and find the Waypoint Runes.
Number? Room number?
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
What? Καλά πίφτω. Τα ακόμα πάνω δεν ήταν. Στο strength και στο intelligence που ήθελες.
Άρη, όλα στο endurance.
Oh. Profit. Μιλάμε για profit.
What's up everyone, I'm Gushy and welcome to RPG Labs. In this video, we're going to be going over a starting guide for any faith build. We'll be going over some incantations that we can get pretty early on into the game, talking about which ones I found to be really helpful, as well as where to get them. Before we start, if you find this video helpful, please drop a like and check out our Elden Ring playlist as we go over a lot of guides like this, breakdowns of mechanics in the game, and some tips and tricks to help you guys master Elden Ring. Alright, so there's two really important things that you really need to unlock first if you're going for a faith build. And those are more incantations and more memory slots, so you can have more incantations equipped, so you can use the right spell in the right situation. We'll be splitting up these incantations into several categories. First up is your ranged incantations. This is kind of like your bread and butter go-to spells, which honestly makes combat way easier. If all else fails and you're getting owned, stay at a distance and throw out those range attacks and you should be fine. The first one that you can easily pick up is called Flame Sling. If you're just starting off with the game, definitely pick this up, as this will be your first ranged spell. It has a decent cast time, and you could charge it up so the fireball gets bigger and it hits a larger AoE. I'd say the major downside of this is that one, the range isn't that far, and the speed is a bit low. So you kind of have to be pretty close to a target to make sure that your attack hits. Next up we have Black Flame. This is pretty much exactly like the fireball, but it does more damage and does damage over time after it hits. Also, the Black Flame also travels a little bit faster and has more range than the fireball. So once you unlock this, there's honestly no reason to go back for the fireball. Finally, the last one and a pretty close second, which most of the time I also have equipped, is the Lightning Spear. This has a super fast cast time, with its non-charged attack doing a pretty close damage to its charge attack. Because the cast time is pretty low, and the fact that it shoots in a straight line makes it perfect for really fast moving enemies. I'd say the damage isn't as much as the Black Flame, but still a really good option. All of these spells can be purchased from Brother Corin once you give him the correct prayer book. By default, we can already get Flame Sling, so once you get access to the round table, definitely pick that up. Next, to get Black Flame, you will have to defeat Margaret the Fell Omen, just so you have access to this next area. So the place you want to go is right over here on the map, to the Stormvale Castle. And so what you want to do is just follow this path that I'm taking. First, you want to jump off this roof over here and land right over here. Next, make sure to look down so you fall on the right hand side and into the castle walls. Again, drop down one more floor and you should see an entrance to the basement, which looks something like this. Loot both of them.
may
So
na
get
nablipis
two new
vidaya,
incantations.
Dak.
One is that Black Flame we're talking about, and the other is the Black Flame Blade, which we'll talk about later. However, let's go over the second prayer book that we can get. For this, you have to travel all the way to Artist Shack right over here on the map. Really close by, you'll find this Gold Knight right over here, and all you have to do is kill him, and you should get the book. Again, take it back to Brother Corin, give him the Dragon Cult prayer book, and you'll get Lightning Spear, and another one called Honed Bolt. By far, Lightning Spear is way better than Honed Bolt because of that really fast cast time, and it does straight up more damage. I'd say the one benefit of using Honed Bolt is that it hones in on enemies. This is a lot easier to hit enemies and frequently does not miss. But given that the Lightning Spear is pretty fast, I don't think the downside of a longer cast time is worth it. And so most of these are a single target ranged attack, without the fact that the Fireball and Black Flame is a larger projectile, so it kind of does an AoE. But we really do want a large AoE attack, especially if we want to take out mobs of enemies. This is where the Lightning Strike incantation comes into play. With this, it shoots a line of thunderbolts, very similar to Honed Bolt, but shoots out 6 instead in a cone in front of you. Now, as you saw in the clip, it may be a little inconsistent. That's because the spread of these different bolts are in a set pattern. So there are some blind spots which you have to keep in mind. So to get this, you're gonna have to go to Castle Morn Rampart right over here. Then you're gonna head west right to my location. You'll find a cliff. If you get lost, all you have to do is head to the smaller Erd tree and you'll find this cavern right over here. If you look down, you'll see one of those bugs rolling those balls. What you want to do is actually kill that bug, which will then drop the incantation. However, it is kind of annoying to get as there's a ton of bats and there's lightning raining down, so it might take a couple tries, but once you do have it, you should be able to equip it. Again, the cast time is pretty long and the damage is decent, but the large AoE is really helpful. There are other AoE incantations. I've seen this flame one, but from the gameplay I've seen, it's really slightly different playstyle, which is our close range incantations. The first one that you see in the background is Catch Fire. This is the very first incantation that you start with, and at first you might not think it's that good. I kind of slept on this, opting to mostly play with the Fireball, but the major benefit of using Catch Fire is the really fast cast time and the fact you can get a couple hits in against larger enemies. Of course, you will have to be really good at dodging because you literally have to be touching the enemy for this attack to hit. And so I think this actually gives you a really good hybrid playstyle of ranged and really close combat, depending on when you find an opening in the enemy's attack. I found this really helpful against Margaret, doing range attacks when it wasn't really safe, and going in for Catch Fire to whiff punish those really long attacks. Next, for our other close ranged incantations, we have our armaments. We have several armaments that attach to your right hand weapon, and if you really prefer a melee playstyle but also want to take use of some of those faith buffs, this might be the option for you. So first up, from our Golden Knight, we get the Electrify armament. This imbues lightning damage to your weapon, and I'd say it's kind of decent, but it's really not my go-to. I think the other ones are a bit better. I think a better option is Black Flame Blade, which just like Black Flame does a lingering dot damage after you hit the enemy. However, the major downside of using Black Flame Blade is that the duration that it's active is really short. As you can see with the sword, I only could get one visceral attack in before it dissipates. As I ignite it again, I only get 3 heavy attacks before again it dissipates. So because of the duration, I don't think it's worth it either. However, my go-to is another armament called Blood Flame Blade. This blade builds up the bleeding effect really quickly, especially if you're using a faster weapon like the dagger, which is my preferred weapon. This is really good against lower poison enemies, as you could continually stagger them with, which I believe is a 20% damage buff. Again, this also builds up the bleed meter really quickly, and you could tell when there's a big burst of damage and the enemy explodes with blood. Depending on your stats, this does almost around the same damage as a faster weapon like the dagger, which I believe is a 20% damage buff. Again, this also builds up the bleed meter really quickly, and you could tell when there's a big burst of damage and the enemy explodes with blood. last close ranged melee weapon that I wanted to go over. Again, you can get really early on into the game once you have access to the round table. For Pata, this is actually considered as a fist weapon, so unfortunately you can't use some of the armaments on it, which would be kind of crazy. This weapon does holy damage and fails off your faith, and it doesn't weigh anything, so you really could just have it equipped just in case you need it. A cool thing about this is you can actually dual wield it if you want, so you can get more damage. Next, I wanted to go over a couple of other incantations, which in some situations are pretty overpowered. This one's called the Aspect of the Crucible Horns, and basically you could continually stun lock enemies if you have enough FP. Again, you can get this at the Stormvale Castle. Instead of jumping off the roof to the right, you're actually going to go to the left, past these birds which would drop some bombs on you, and then onto this platform.
So you want to be a mage that uses incantations as their primary source of damage in Elden Ring. Using incantations as your primary source of damage seems to be underrated. People seem to think the actual powerful ones take too long to cast and you won't get them off, and all the other ones are just useless or sorceries. And when you're there, pick up the stone sword key that you can loot from the body. Don't forget to talk to Rodrika 3 times to get the jellyfish summon, which is definitely a decent summon for the early game. The second stone sword key can be found in the dragon burnt runes right here. Not recommended, and at this point of the game you might still be too weak to do that. So an easy way to just get him killed is by luring him outside the chamber and let him get ran over by that pain in the ass thing, which now, as you can see, actually has some kind of use to it. It's just too efficient to do it like that. And accordingly, loot the Dragon Communion seal. This seal is incredibly good and it's going to be our primary weapon. Our secondary weapon is thankfully nearby as well. You want to go to this spot on the map for it. When you arrive here, you will get invaded by Bloody Finger Nerichus. Now again, since it's the start of the game, you might not be able to take him down, as he is just simply a lot higher in level than you. But just wait a bit and the game will summon another guy that is going to help us. He will tank the fight for you, and meanwhile you can just spam Catch Flame or attack him with your spear. When you get him down, you will be rewarded with the Redufia dagger. This is a really powerful and fast attacking dagger that complements our build very well, and we will use it for the early to mid game. I will talk about these weapons a bit later in this video and why we actually want to use them. But for now we need to keep moving, because we're going to go to everybody's favorite region in the game, Caelid. On the road, try to get 3 levels in Arcane till it's at 13. Now go back to the Dragon Burnt Runes where we picked up the second stone sword key earlier in this video, but this time go down the stairs and interact with the chest. If you're already familiar with this chest, then just act all surprised. If not, then this is actually a trap that's going to teleport us to Caelid. It will make things a lot faster. It will teleport us to this cave specifically, and you will want to run outside of it as fast as possible, because the enemies are going to destroy you. Get the grace, mount up, and now you want to go and move through Caelid, something like this. We're going to go and pick up our first talisman and meet Greyroll. And the reason why we want to take this route is mostly because it just opens up Caelid a lot, and you'll touch a lot of graces on the road, which is going to be very useful for later, and especially because there are several points of interest for us on this particular route. Eventually, when you complete the route, you will end up at Fort Ferret. When you're at the fort, go inside and ignore all the bats.
And the Aghiel Lake north side of Grace. Cross the bridge and find the waypoint runes. Within these runes, you'll find the map.
επίθεση. Μια γάτα με σπαθί. Δεν νομίζω, Μάκη. Να παίξει.
Ναι, ισχύει, μήπως θέλει να παίξει.
Εύκολη είναι πάντως, εντάξει. Αρκεί. Ναι, λέει ουράστηκε για τη φάση. Μήπως είναι κανένα weak point. Ναι, αλλά δεν χτυπάει. Α, χτυπάει, Άκη. Μπάλες.
Αν κρατούσε κανένα περίστροφο δηλαδή.
Καλά, το έχεις όμως, εντάξει, δεν είναι δύσκολο. Ναι.
Βρήκα πως μπορείς να το περάσεις. Σκότωσε τη γάτα. Το βρήκα. Δεν ξέρω γιατί φοράει κάπα σαν το Σούπερμαν και πετάει σαν το Σούπερμαν. Δεν έχω καταλάβει.
Γιατί είναι η σούπερ κάρτα. Είναι ο Cat King. Έχει και στέμμα ανάμεσα στο λόγο. Πάμε, Μάρι. Κάψε την πουτάνα. Οπ, αρμαλάκα αυτή βγάζει φωτιά και από το στόμα. Κάτσε, φωτιά μόνο από κοντά μπορείς να κάνεις. Να βαρέσεις. Πάλι.
Ναι, είναι 43, όχι 20 κάτι που είπα. 43 είναι μέσα τώρα.
Αυτά τα noble
Ναι,
swords τα πουλάς και παίρνεις όλους. Αυτό που σου έδωσε το noble τέτοιο, τα πουλάς και σου δίνει τέτοιο.
Ναι.
Εντάξει, από εδώ τελείωσε. Μάρι, ξέρεις πόσα boss έχει το Elden Ring? Έχει γύρω στα 100 κάτι, νομίζω. Αν δεν κάνω λάθος.
Αλλά
το 2027 θα είσαι τελειωμένος. Αλλά εντάξει, δεν είναι σαν τη γάτα είναι, δεν είναι. Λίγα είναι δύσκολα πολύ. Να. Yes.
Ναι. Ναι.
Mad Pumpkinhead boss fight. After defeating him,
Το ψάχνω λίγο τα reports τώρα να βρω ένα βολικό να το κοιτάω στα γρήγορα ρε γάμο.
Selling is going to be your way to buy new sorceries, so this is definitely a must side north. These are Stormfoot Catacombs and the Groveside Cave. They're low-level dungeons which are well suited for beginners, and completing these will give you a way to earn runes and level up your character. Both of these locations are along the cliffside northwest of the Church of Ella. Completing those, your next location is the Waypoint Runes Cellar.
Hold on.
This is going to be southeast of the Gatefront Ruins and the Agheel Lake north side of Grace. Cross the bridge and
Mm-hmm.
find the Waypoint Runes. Within these ruins, going to be southeast of the Gatefront Ruins and the Agheel Lake north side of Grace. Cross the bridge and find the Waypoint Runes. Within these ruins, this is going to be southeast of the
Α, το άλογο παντού πάει, δεν. Α, το θυμάμαι αυτό το μέρος. Από έναν άλλον τέτοιο που έχει το κουτί εδώ. Όχι άλλο, από άλλο, εντελώς άλλο βίντεο λέω τώρα. Axe Talisman. Τι είναι αυτό ρε? Weapon είναι. Οκ. Τι κάνει? Τι δίνει? Φόρα το. Είναι καλό. Έχει 5 γκράτς και... είναι και καλό quality. Βάλ' το Μάρια. Φόρα το. Yes, I do. Όχι ρε, ξυπνήσεις τώρα. Πήγε Μάρια, πήγε. Όχι.
Όχι, όχι. Τώρα κόλλησε.
Ναι, τώρα ένα μικρό τέτοιο το έκανε.
Εγώ έτσι το είπα, δεν κοίταζα εκείνη τη στιγμή.
Έκανε, όχι δεν ήταν, ένα μικρό λαγκάκι δεν ήταν κόλλημα. Εγώ ναι. Αλλά κάτσε ποιον λες τώρα, τον άλλον ή εμένα.
Δεν ξέρω,
αλλά...
κάτσε να δώσει τι ανάλυση.
Ξέρω μάγια.
1080 το κοιτάω εγώ. Στο βάζω 2K. Στο 2K γαμιέται, αλλά δεν ξέρω αν φταίς εσύ, αν φταίω εγώ. Όχι, το φόρτισε και τώρα δεν κολλάει.
Α, να το σου. Ο Pumpkin Head.
Μπράβο, δες το setup μωρέ, έλος παρακολουθιάσεων.
Άντε καλά. Αλλά καλώς τελικά και ever.
Έχω γαμηθεί ρε μαλάκα στη δουλειά. Και όχι.
Καλά είσαι. Ναι, αλλά Ντάλτον πέθανε στο Chaos. Καλά.
Που δεν έπαιζα ρε, ήμουνα δίπλα, έπαιζα με τις αναλύσεις. Μάριος χρωστάει ένα Phoenix Plume.
Tarnished,
Hi,
are
hi.
you? No wonder you should turn up here. I am Selen, a sorcerer, quite plainly. Why are you here? A yen for glintstone sorceries. I dare say your proclivities are far from ideal. Oh well, perhaps nurture will defy nature, with a bit of luck. But one must choose one's masters wisely. I was exiled from the Academy of Rea Lucaria as a reviled, apostate witch. Do you still wish to learn from me? Well, you are a piece of work. Very well. You are now my protege in glintstone sorcery. But I refuse to coddle or cast kind words. Never. Anticipate grievances, young apprentice.
The Gatefront runes. Within these runes, you'll find secret location. This is definitely a must-visit location if you're doing a sorcery-style build. Next, we travel to the Limgrave Tunnels. This tunnel is north along Agheel Lake and north of the Dragonburnt Runes. You can attempt to take on the Flying Dragon Agheel if you feel ready. Otherwise, feel free to run past him and to the bottom of the cliffside where you'll find the tunnel. I take you here because Limgrave Tunnel is filled to the brim with smithing stones. This is true of the various tunnels in every region of the game. Smithing stones are your key to leveling up your weapons, so if you're doing any kind of melee build, you absolutely want to head here early. Once you finish this, we're going to get that Flask of Wonders Physic. According to the note from Kale, it's at the Third Church of America north of the Mistwood, so all you need to do is go back to the Waypoint Rune Cellar. Now take the path north, don't cross the bridge, but rather keep following the path. If you keep following it to its end, you'll come to the Third Church of America and the Flask of Wonders Physic. There's also an artist shack along the way with a painting. You can try to have fun and see if you can figure out the location the painting was painted at. Now we have some options. There are plenty of side dungeons to do in the main part of Limgrave, and I recommend completing these, as it will help you level up your character. Once you finish this and want to explore more, rather than heading north into Stormhill and Stormvale Castle, I recommend you head south into the Weeping Peninsula. This is definitely meant to be the early game area you go to, and there's plenty to find here that will help you out. Castle Morn to the south is a much larger dungeon, but much easier to complete than Stormvale and definitely meant for lower level players. Not only that, but on the way to Castle Morn, you can find yet another golden seed. On top of that, you'll find a minor Erd tree on this peninsula, which will give you more goodies you can use for your Flask of Wondrous Physic. And probably most importantly, there are multiple churches on the Weeping Peninsula that contain sacred tears. While the golden seeds upgrade the number of uses you have out of your flasks of tears, The sacred tears upgrade the potency and make it so each chug will heal you for more. Once again, I recommend exploring all of the Weeping Peninsula for its various secrets and dungeons, which will help you level up and strengthen your character, preparing you for Stormveil Castle. If you still don't feel confident, this might be a good time to go explore Mistwood Folly, which is to the east of Limgrave, as well as Stormhill, which is to the north side. Just make sure not to venture too deeply into Caelid, as that is definitely a high-level area. Alright, all of that done, it's time to tackle Stormveil Castle. Or is it? If you can, might as well go ahead, have fun, and see if you can conquer the challenge. If you're still struggling, there's actually a way to skip Stormveil Castle and travel directly into Liurnia of the Lakes. To the east side of Stormveil Castle, just north of the Stormhill Shack, you can find a path that will lead you to a broken bridge. Go ahead and travel to the end of that bridge, and you'll find a crumbled path that takes you down and through the side of the castle. This will take you right to the lake-facing cliff shrine of Grace and Liurnia of the Lakes. Now you can fully explore this section and its dungeons and try to level up even further, which will help make Stormveil more simple. I'm not going to go too deeply into this area, but I will say this. I recommend going to Caria Manor before the Academy of Raya Lucaria. I also recommend that after you finish Raya Lucaria, you travel up to the Atlas Plateau and Leyndell as your next location. Caelid is a very high-level area, and while you can find it early on, I think Leyndell is actually logically supposed to come first. And there you have a beginner's guide and path to take with Elden Ring. Of course, you're free to alter this however you like and have fun and explore however you want. That's the joy of this type of game, but I thought I'd give a recommended path for beginners and something that might help take some frustration away if you're having trouble. I also made a guide of tips for beginning players.
Bah. Level up fast. Τι είναι εκείνο εκεί? Πάνω.
Άρα πάλι στο YouTube είσαι, δεν τρέπεσαι. Καταρχήν αυτό που κάνεις είναι YouTube Semption. Γιατί κοιτάμε στο YouTube να κοιτάς YouTube.
If you want to level up your Elden Ring character very fast at the start of the game, then this video guide will show you how to get 100,000 runes to level up your character fast, and it can be used at any point you are in the game, whether you've just finished the tutorial, or you can even come back and do this method right now. It works with any class, and technically speaking, you actually don't need to kill anything, or at least anything that can fight back. As you'll see in this video, it's very straightforward to follow along with, but you can always favorite the video if you want to use it for future character builds, since it gives you a massive jump start to leveling in Elden Ring. So I'm assuming you've just started the game and you're at the first step resting spot. If you haven't already unlocked the starting area of the map and your mount, there's a guide on how to do that linked down below in the description. After you follow that guide, you'll have a mount and the starting area of the map unlocked, which you need for this guide. After you've done that, from the first step resting spot just here on the map, we're going to turn and go directly south, because there's something we need to pick up in order for this method to be successful. So just go ahead and hop off the cliff just here, using the jump button so you don't take any full damage, and then we're going to run all the way off the edge of the cliff just here. Just go ahead and sprint off and jump, and as long as you land on your horse at one of these sort of channels of air, you won't actually take any full damage. Now what we're going to do is ride over to the east just here, and we're going to pick up this treasure hidden just on this pilgrim's body here. There will be some undead spawning around you, but you can just ignore them because, I mean, you can literally...
Young apprentice, you are a tadpole, so to book now.
After you've done that from the first step resting spot just here on the map, we're going to turn and
you appear to be doing well. Very good. Well then. May the Golden Order shine through you.
Μάλλον. Είχε βαργαμόμυγο. Σαν μυγάκι θα σου πάρει να πετάνω το βράδυ, μαλάκα. Ναι, αλλά η Delta είναι τα βγει. Πώς και. Ναι, αλλά ξαναμπήκε.
And go directly south, because there's something we need to pick up in order for this method to be successful. Just go ahead and hop off the cliff just here, using the jump button so you don't take any full damage. And then we're going to run all the way off the edge of the cliff just here. Just go ahead and sprint off and jump. And as long as you land on your horse at one of these sort of channels of air, you won't actually take any full damage. Now what we're going to do is ride over to the east just here, and we're going to pick up this treasure hidden just on this building. There will be some undead spawning around you, but you can just ignore them because you should just walk past them. And now we have the gold pickled foulfoot, which we need later. After you've got that, we're just going to go ahead and jump on this whirlwind. That's going to send us back up here. And then we're going to jump on this one to get back up to the top here, which is a pretty damn cool view. Or alternatively, you can just fast travel back to the first step resting spot. But if we go to our inventory and then we look at the gold pickled foulfoot, this is essentially an item that increases the amount of runes that drop in the game for a short period of time. And we're going to need this later on in the video. Now, once again, looking at the map from the first step resting spot, we'd want to travel directly east along the bank of this lake just here, all the way down around the dip here. And we're going to put a map marker just over here, which is near this sort of fork in the path here. You can see we're going to travel from here just over here. And I'm going to put a waypoint over there by pressing A. And then we're going to go and travel to that waypoint that you can literally see in the distance over there. Just hop down the cliffs here and carry on going all the way to the waypoint. And if you're a fan of Elden Ring or any other Souls games, you may also be interested in Display. They sell metal posters that you can attach to the wall with magnets. And they have some really cool Dark Souls and Elden Ring artwork, which you can grab from the link down below in the description if you are excited about it, especially right now while there's a discount. And you can see in the distance there as we edge closer, ignoring all the enemies on the way, that there is another resting spot of grace exactly where I marked on the map. Now we're going to be just here on the map at Heel Lake South. So if I go ahead and zoom in, you can see that just to the side here, there's a path that we can follow that goes all the way down through a valley and across a bridge just here on the map. So we're going to put a waypoint just after that bridge over here, and that's where we're going to head over to stuff. Where I marked on the map.
Αυτός είναι ντυμένος σαμουράι, ρε. Ναι, ρε. Αυτά είναι. Καλά πήγες. Εντάξει. Γενικά μ' άρεσε το strength. Πρέπει οπωσδήποτε να το ανεβάσεις. Δεν μπορείς να τα σηκώσεις. Δεν μπορείς να τα κρατήσεις, ρε, χωρίς το strength. Το όπλος. Αυτός με το άλογο τι φάση. Τι ήταν αυτό. Οκ. Quantum faz. Οκ. Εκείνο το boss που ήταν έτσι σαν κένταυρος, μισό άλογο της κατά ήταν το έφαγες τελικά. Το πρώτο βασικά. Ναι. Είναι δύσκολο και να είναι γρήγορο πολύ. Επίθεση. Έγινε λίγο Fallout. Καλά πήγε αυτό με τον κάβουρα. Καλά είναι, καλά ήταν. Βασικά σε αποσυντώνησε το κουνούπι, αλλιώς θα έχεις κερδίσει. Είναι καλοκαίρι, βρέχει και όλες η υγρασία βγήκαν. Δεν ψήνεται. Α, εντάξει, κάνει τα μάτια. Ένα. Γεια σου, κάβουρα.
Now we're going to be just here on the map at the Agheel Lake South. So if I go ahead and zoom in, you can see that just to the side here, there's a path that we can follow that goes all the way down through a valley and across a bridge just here on the map. So we're going to put a waypoint just after that bridge over here, and that's where we're going to head over to next. So let's go ahead and mount up, and then we're going to jump up this rock here and just sort of walk over to the road, and you can see our waypoint over to the south there. So we're just going to head down the road through this valley and across the Bridge of Sacrifice, which is a rather dangerous bridge because it actually has a ballista on it. So in order to avoid that ballista, basically what you need to do is just listen out for the sound of it firing. As soon as you hear that sound, just dodge to the right, like I do. And then it'll miss you every single time. And we're literally just going to ride across it and ignore all the enemies. They won't be able to hit you because they're far too slow. And we're going to come to the other side of this bridge where we put that waypoint. We're just going to pause here in the Weeping Peninsula Valley, and then step a bit more forward until you can open your map. And now you'll see you've uncovered kind of like a path that carries on going south. So we're basically just going to keep following this road to the south, and we'll put another waypoint just here where this sort of T-junction is at the road, and we're going to carry on heading down this pathway. And you'll see just ahead of us there is a broken down carriage, and inside the back of this broken down carriage, if I hop off my horse, we're going to find a chest that we can loot for the Morning Star weapon, which is a very important weapon that we need for this guide. So let's go ahead and pick that up. Now at this point you can die, and we're literally just going to ride it right, like I do. And then it'll miss you every single time. And we're literally...
Το game το μεταξύ σε κατευθύνει λίγο, νομίζω. Έτσι δεν είναι. Λίγο πολύ σου λέει πού να πας, επειδή δεν σου λέει. Με κάποιο... Ναι, με κάποιο τρόπο, ναι. Ναι. Έχει πραγματοζωάρα. Αυτό το... ναι, αυτό. Επίθεση, Μάριε! Κι είναι, δεν είναι sword αυτό που πήρες. Ένα κι πήρες.
Is somebody there? Might I bend your ear for a moment, please?
Literally just going to ride across it and ignore all the enemies. They won't be able to hit you because they're far too slow. And we're going to come to the other side of this bridge where we put that waypoint. we're just going to pause here in the Weeping Peninsula Valley. And then step a bit more forward until you can open your map. And now you'll see you've uncovered kind of like a path that carries on going south. So we're basically just going to keep following this road to the south, and we'll put another waypoint just here where this sort of T-junction is at the road, and we're going to carry on heading down this pathway. And you'll see just ahead of us there is a broken down carriage, and inside the back of this broken down carriage, if I hop off my horse, we're going to find a chest that we can loot for the Morning Star weapon, which is a very important weapon that we need for this guide.
I fear for Father's life. The servants are full wrath, filled with hatred for every one of us. They've since come for every one of the companions I escaped with. They haven't spared a soul. I fear it's no different at Castle Morn. Please, I implore you, would you mind taking a letter to my father at the castle? My soul wishes that he escape, even if...
So let's go ahead and pick that up. Now at this point you can die, and if you're playing as a mage or a weaker class, the Morning Star will require a higher strength to wield. But don't worry, you can just two-hand it and use it effectively. To do this, hold down Y or triangle on PlayStation, and then press the light attack button while holding it down. And then you'll be two-handing the mace, and you can now use it effectively as a weapon. And we're going to fast travel back to the Aghil Lake South resting point just here on the map once again. And from here, we're actually going to hit the attack button while holding it down. And you can just two-hand it and use it effectively. To do this, hold down Y or triangle on PlayStation, and then press the light attack button while holding it down. And then you'll be two-handing the mace, and you can now use it effectively as a weapon. And we're going to fast travel back to the Aghil Lake South resting point just button while...
Thank you, dearly. Then please, take this. Deliver it to my father, who remains in the castle, if you please. Please, if you wouldn't mind, deliver the letter to my father at the castle.
Ναι. Λέγε. Σε μένα μιλάς. Νόμιζα του Μάριο μιλούσες. Τι είπες. Δεν άκουσα. Όχι, τώρα δεν το κοιτούσα. Εντάξει. Ευχαριστώ. Θα το κάνω. Εγώ.
Πριν ακουγόμουν καλύτερα.
strength to wield, but don't worry, you can just two-hand it and use it effectively. To do this, hold down Y or triangle on PlayStation and then press the light attack
Τι είναι αυτό?
Τι είναι αυτά ρε Μάρη?
Μήπως είσαι ο Wolverine?
Οκ. Το πήγαινε να το δοκιμάσεις. Γι' αυτό. Α, μπάλες. Πρέπει και στα Knights πήγαινε.
Πάνω ύστερα το πολύ είναι το ίδιο.
Ναι, αλλά νομίζω δεν λέει με 2 ώρες. Κρατάει το τέτοιο, δεν θα κατέβει. Κρατάει την βαλίστα. κάνει damage το σπαθάκι, εντάξει. Σε κάνα boss μόνο μπορεί να δυσκολευτείς. Είναι αργό λίγο, του handed. Ωραία. Τον έκανες εκεί, το jump. Μια σκέψη να αποκτήσει και το strength που θέλει μετά. Θα θέλουν μονόχυτα όλα αυτά. Το backstab, ένα hit δεν είναι. Ναι. Όχι, δεν είναι ένα hit. Εντάξει. Line. Εντάξει, σταματήσει να βγαίνει στο Discord.
Τώρα μπήκα από το κινητό, ρε. Τραβάς κανένα ζωρί, θες ποσό.
Μπορεί.
Μπορώ να βάλω μια στο YouTube τώρα πήγαινε.
Πάνω και θα κάνα 2 ώρα 3 ώρα.
Τι λες βόδα ρε.
Και θα έρθω μετά για κόντ.
Ναι ρε, λογικά σε κάνα 2 ώρα 3 ώρα δεν θα κοιμάμαι κι εγώ.
Α, ναι.
Τώρα, 7 η ώρα σου.
Εντάξει τότε. Καλά, μένει να παίξουμε 2 ώρες, μπαίνω, okay. Αλλά μετά ρε φίλε θα ψοφήσω, Δεν ήξερα τι αξούλης έχεις.
Κοίτα, δεν έχω πρόβλημα να κοιμηθώ κιόλας. Ο Μάριος με έχει σπάσει τα νεύρα ρε μαλάκα. Έχει αφήσει το guide μέσα στο βίντεο. Μπάλες μου τα. Δηλαδή...
Αφού νόσκι.
button while holding it down. And then you'll be two-handing the mace and you can now use it effectively as a weapon. And we're going to fast travel back to the Aghil Lake South resting point just here on the map once again. And from here, we're actually going to go all the way to the northeast, where there is another Church of Marika located just here, just below this little lake here. We're going to put another waypoint there.
Ωραίος. Πάει το Call of Duty. Πώς ήρθε τώρα και πούμε για Call of Duty, ρε.
Someone who might be interested in rescuing the great Kenneth Haight, servant to the true order and celebrated repudiator of the false. Oh, Erdtree. You've come to lend me your aid, have you? Well, that's very kind, but, no. No, but the help is very much appreciated, even from a tarnished. Despite appearances, nobility is no prerequisite to serving the true order. You might have heard of me, Kenneth Haight. Next in line is the rightful ruler of Limgrave, young Tarnished. I would have a boon of you. I want you to take back my fort. It lies to the south, beyond the Mistwood. A knight commander from Stormvale took it. A fool! And plumb mad to boot. Simply obsessed with blood. What are you waiting for? A kiss goodbye? My fort lies to the south, beyond the Mistwood. Take it back for me. Oh, I see. You wish to know the reward. Fret not. The great Kenneth Haight is known for his considerable largesse. The celebrations will be lavish indeed upon the dawn of my fort's retrieval.
Spoken echoes linger here. Words of Queen Marika, who vanished long ago. If you wish, I will share them with you. Very well. In Marika's own words, my lord, and thy warriors, I divest each of thee of thy grace. With thine eyes dimmed, ye will be driven from the lands between. Ye will wage war in a land afar, where ye will live and die. Well, perhaps that might serve you in lieu of a maiden's guidance.
Δύσκολα.
shall I turn your runes to strength. Let my hand rest upon you. For but a moment, share them with me.
And if you watch my other video, you already have this area of the map unlocked. If not, starting from the Aghil Lake South resting point, we're literally just going to, you can see the path turns left across at the Church of Marika. So let's go ahead and head on inside of it. And just here we can activate the resting spots of Grace. And as you can see, we're now right here on the map at the third Church of Marika. And if I go ahead and zoom in on the map, right to the north, just where this lake is, we're going to put another little waypoint just over here, because there's actually a teleporter that's going to take us all the way over here. So from this resting spot, you can see there's a gap in the ruins here, which is going to run over here through the bushes. You can see our waypoint is just over there. So hop down these rocks to the lake just here. And this is the teleporter hidden in the bushes, kind of like a wispy bit of wind. And we're going to activate this teleporter and travel to another location. Ooh, spooky. And now we're at the Greydol's Dragon Barrow, and there's a sneaky enemy behind us. So as you can see, this has teleported us all the way to the northeast of the map over here. So we're going to zoom in, and pretty much directly south, we're just going to put a waypoint marker around here where this clouded area is. Just over here. This is basically the direction we're heading, and you're going to follow where I go now. So if you look in the south there, you can see the waypoints we placed next to that golden tree. Basically that's your reference from here. And now we're just going to run past this guy. He's not going to attack you, he's not fast enough. I'm just going to go down this pathway heading east currently, but it sort of loops around to the south there. You can see there's a big bridge, but before we get to that bridge, there's actually another resting point which we're going to want to pick up. If you die for some reason in between here, you can just come back using the same teleporter. But you see, just before you get to this bridge, there's a resting point of Grace just on the left here. There's also a massive dragon on that bridge, but don't worry about it. He is absolutely harmless. He's very friendly. We want to get on our horse again, and then we're going to ride up to this dragon. And as long as you're quick, like, it doesn't attack you. In fact, I usually like to run between its legs, so you guys like the video. He seems to just sort of react to you and then take ages to actually start to attack. So as long as you're riding straight on, you shouldn't have any problem, and he'll pretty much miss everything, as you can see. So now what we're going to do is carry on riding down this pathway. And you can see that's the golden tree where we placed the waypoint, and we're going to continue up to this. Ignore the lightning, by the way, it doesn't actually do any damage. And you can see there's another boss directly ahead. So at this point, go right around these pots, and then you're going to want to go straight on in between these pots just over here, and then you're going to head left up this little sort of rocky area just here. And then we're going to stop here, have a look on the map where we are. So you can see this is where we were. We went across this bridge here, and now we're just here at the Minor Erd's tree. So then from the foot of this giant tree that we're at, we're going to go directly west now. And we're going to continue along this pathway until we basically get to the enemy we need to get to. Head west down this pathway, ignoring the enemies once again. Just carry on following this cliff edge here. Keep going, and you eventually have to drop off this ledge just here, so go ahead and do that. There'll be a giant ball. You can go ahead and yeet if you like. And then we'll get to this sort of area where there's a cliff face. So at this point, follow exactly where I go. We're going to jump up the cliff here. There's a big dragon on the left. We're just going to ride round just here where I'm going exactly. Carry on riding round. We're going to go just to the right of his wing here, hop over here and head round behind him, and then jump over here And we're now basically behind the dragon, just over here. You can see there's no enemies here, and we're pretty safe. So we're going to jump off our horse, and we're going to enter sneak mode. Just make sure that none of those dragons have followed you. Now, if you want to know the exact location, you don't have the map uncovered. This was the minor Erd tree we're at, and we are now just here next to this pathway, and that is where we are at this dragon boss. And as you can see, we're absolutely fine here. So what we're going to do is now we're going to walk in between this sort of dragon's wing here into his like armpit area, and we're just going to start hitting him from here while we two-hand our weapon. Now, as you can see, we are going to start to melee this dragon with our Morningstar mate, and it will do very little damage. But this doesn't actually matter, because each time you attack, you'll actually be stacking the bleed effect, which does percentage-based damage after it builds up. So after several attacks, you'll do 13,400 damage very suddenly, and a big chunk of the boss's health will disappear. And you're pretty much going to carry on light attacking the dragon to do this repeatedly until the dragon is low on health. I suggest that you just carry on light attacking until your stamina is low, and then wait for it to fill up and then start the combo again. This will take you 5 minutes to kill the dragon from full health, so it doesn't take very long at all. The best part is the dragon doesn't fight back, so you're going to get these runes for nothing really. But now comes the most important part of the video. You do not want to kill the dragon completely yet. You just want to get it as low as possible. So as long as you're doing this early on with any character in Elden Ring at the start of the game, using the Morningstar weapon, you always end up getting the dragon to this sort of small slither of health that we see at the end here. So once you've almost killed the dragon and you've just triggered the bleed effect, and it drops down to low health like this, you're going to want to make sure you've equipped your golden pickle Falfoot from your inventory and put it in your quick slot ready to use. Then we're just going to hit the dragon several more times, then activate the golden pickled Falfoot so you can see it ticking away there, and then just carry on attacking until it's dead. Then you'll also get the extra boost in runes that the golden Falfoot gives you for being active at the same time that you're killing this dragon. But if for some reason you run out of golden Falfeet, there's a guide on how to farm them linked below. The golden Falfeet do give a 30% boost to the amount of runes you get, so they are great for farming runes with. And you can actually farm an unlimited amount of them very easily as well. So as you can see, after the dragon is killed, we get all of the runes from the dragon surrounding us, 96,702 on the bottom right corner there in total. So you can see there's a big difference there. In fact, there's a way to increase that number even higher, which I'll talk about at the end of the video. However, it is a bit harder to do. So now we have killed the great dragon, we can pretty much just fast travel back to the first step resting spot or anywhere else we want to go. And we're going to level up our character. So as you can see, using the 100,000 runes, depending on what class you're using and what level you start at, you can now set up your character build however you would like. I would strongly suggest checking out another starter guide or character build guide linked below, so you don't just allocate your stats randomly and you instead have a build plan in mind. In total, from starting the game at level 9, the samurai class can level up another 24 times using this method. But if you want to get even more runes using this method, and I mean like another 20,000 runes or so, to allow you to level up even further, you're going to want to obtain the golden scarab, which boosts the runes you obtain by another 20%, and when stacked with the golden Falfoot, you'll be getting another 50% more runes whenever you kill something. However, the golden scarab helmet requires you to kill a boss in order to obtain, which is why I didn't include it in this video. Instead, there'll be a guide on how to obtain that and unlimited golden Falfoot linked down below in the video description. So I hope you found this video helpful. I'll see you in the next one. Chunk oil directly west now. Actually start a bit of wind, and we're going to activate this teleporter and travel to another location. Ooh, spooky. And now we're at the Greydol's Dragon Barrow, and there's a point marker around here. Here where this clouded area is, just over here. This is basically the sea. This is, and then we're going to stop here, have a look.
other types of incantations, we want to pick up something that we can use as a long range, high burst, staple spell that also casts quickly, as we don't really have something that exactly fits those 3 criteria yet. Welcome to Lightning Spear, it's too good, and you can get it by getting the prayer book from a mob that walks around in Lernia of the Lakes right here. Kill him and he will drop the Dragon Cult prayer book. Take it with you and go to the turtle nearby in the Church of Vows.
What's going on, everybody? I hope you liked that intro. I was feeling a little wacky, a little creative. As you know, Elden Ring is about 3 days away, at least at the time of recording, and with Elden Ring being considered one of the biggest releases this year, it will be a lot of people's first Souls-like game. As you can tell from the title, this is a stat video. I will be talking about every single stat. I'll be going over what they do, how they work, everything. My first Souls game was Bloodborne, and I actually quit the first time just because the stat menu was so confusing and I had no idea what I was looking at. Thank God one of my friends explained to me how every